20,000 words over many years is not easy. Trying to figure out if it's too complicated for kids. At the age of 7 and 8 is when the child's imagination is really expanding. You want to capture that imagination and their creativity.
The world itself, the sounds, whether it's a tree, whether it's a bird, it's actually saying Om. So baby is wondering what is Om, how to chant Om. Any tool that you have in the Hindu toolbox, it's about bringing joy and peace and happiness. It's really about binding hearts. The grandma was Mexican and the child is Indian, and the Mexican nanny showed how the 4-month-old was saying Om. I was very touched.
And our ancestors had to make hard choices when it was easy to convert. So what is it that led them through the journey? What is it that led my father, my mother? It must be their value system. What has happened in Kashmiri language is that because of displacement, a lot of our culture is actually dying and it needs help.
Quite a few people who reached out saying, my kid learned the Shlokam from your book and they can use it on an everyday basis. Hinduism, it's not mythology. All these stories are from Hindu Puranas, Hindu's Itihasas. We have places to prove that those things happened in those places.
What is the most challenging part of writing your book?
One of the challenges is to make sure that this book gets into the libraries and especially to the early education, because your kids are going to listen to your teachers.
Your job does not stop at just writing. You have to figure out the publishing and you have to be a business person to get your message across. It's a never-ending challenge. I thought it would be easy.
My name is Lata Narayanan. I'll be moderating this event today. On behalf of the Hindu Parents Network, thank you for joining us for a morning books and inspiration. Today is all about celebrating stories that reflect our culture, our values, and our shared heritage, while also sparkling imagination and joy in our children. Even though there are not that many children here, but I guess you can take it forward to your children and grandchildren at home. We are especially excited to feature 3 incredible local authors here who are bringing Hindu stories and experiences to life for young readers. From our littlest learners discovering their first Om to teens exploring history, identity, and adventure. This event is not just about books. It's about connection between generation, between culture and creativity, and between our children and stories where they can truly see themselves. So let's dive in and get inspired and support these amazing authors here. We have Ranjini Sekalji. She is actually known as the new title, I should say. Right, Ranjini?
Yes.
The Hindu Grandma. That's just not in social media, but I guess it's become the norms in many parts of the country now, right? Just, as I said, she might not need much of an introduction, but she's a Boston-based educator, an IITian from Mumbai. There's many more. She's the founder of Lokwani. Right now, her passion is, one of them is writing, right? And, that's just a gist of it. We have Pavithra Giridharan. She's a professor of psychology at Middlesex Community College. She's been born and brought up in Chennai as well. From a young age, Pavithra has always been fascinated by stories from the Hindu Puranas and Itihasas. She also enjoys teaching children about Hindu culture, and she's been an active teacher at the Acton Shloka class. And I have heard, and I have never visited, but I've heard that her guru is amazingly and very creative too. So, yeah, I've never been to. I think this year I'm going to invite myself. We have one localite, and she is a total celebrity here. Sunayana Kachroo. She's an award-winning film writer, producer, and lyricist. That's amazing. She's actually been nominated for Best Script 2026 at the Screen Awards.
Wow.
Ooh. She has collaborated with Sonu Nigam, most of the heartthrobs here, okay? Shankar Mahadevan, Hariharan, and our local talent, Anuradha Palakurti, and just to name a few. It doesn't stop right there, right? She led an ensemble of artists at Mahakumbh 2025, Ayodhya Temple, and I guess in Kashmir and in Netherlands as well. And is there anything more to add? And I'm sure there's many more. So let's get on with, what is all about the book, right? And if I may ask you, Ranjini, what inspired you to start writing for children?
My granddaughter. That was the real thing. So when, as many of you know, I'm very passionate about spreading Hinduism, and making sure that our children grow up in that. And when my granddaughter was born, my daughter and actually her friends who were having children said they don't have enough resources to help with this. And the books that came on Hinduism from India as well were not quite tailored to the needs of this community here. So they said, can you do something? And I also felt that the first book that my granddaughter should read doesn't necessarily have to be The Very Hungry Caterpillar. It's a great book, but I thought, how about doing something for it? And so because I was writing the first book, it became my first Om, because I thought Om is a right first. And the other thing I found out is Om is actually very easy to say, and the children were able to say it. And so voila, here it happened. This was my first birthday gift to my granddaughter. And I do want to acknowledge my two co-writers here, Meena Mehta and Praveen Minocha, and I'll talk about their role in the book as we go along.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ranjini. How about you?
So, as my book says, that at the crossroads of destiny, Kashmir 1947. So when we think of partition, right, this is a question to all of you because that will answer. When we think of partition of India, what states do we think of? Punjab, right? 2.5 kilo ka haath sunny day going across. We never think of Kashmir because we think of Kashmir as if yesterday's news. So although Kashmir did not have an official partition, but there are stories. Now, you talked about my film career and as a lyricist. But here's the thing. I was at Met Museum 2 days back and with my son. And I'd heard that there is an idol of Sharada Devi from Kashmir. And I was told that it's there. I mean, I would have liked to go to Met Gala when Priyanka Chopra is there. But I had to go. Sharada Devi works better for me. So it was missing, and there was note that it has gone for some kind of research. And it's been there for 6 months. So I was wondering what kind of research are they doing on this? Then I realized that I looked online and it looked like it was looted from a temple in Kashmir. Now the government of India is asking it back. These are our stories. Kashmir's culture is at the verge of extinction. It has 7 million speakers. The culture is at the verge of extinction. Forest is burning. I may not be able to save it. I'll add my drop. This is my drop.
When I grew up loving books, and I've always loved Amar Chitra Katha. I know many of you probably have a lot of them in your house. But when my kids were growing up, I felt Amar Chitra Katha was not enough. They loved Percy Jackson series. They loved the Harry Potter, and I read it with them. So I loved them too. But I felt, why not have books about Hindu gods? We have more than a few Hindu gods, right? We have a lot of them. We have a god for every, you want to pray for education? Let's pray to Saraswati. We have a representation of everything. So that was one of the reasons why I felt that we need to have books, chapter books, because there are picture books, there are, Amar Chitra Katha is there everywhere. But at the age of 7 and 8 is when the child's imagination is really expanding. And when they read books, you want to capture that imagination and their creativity, which was the reason why I started on these books. So this is the first in a series. The hope is, God willing, that there will be one per god, and every book talks about. So this book on Ganesha, the kids actually go on adventures with Ganesha and they interact. They are part of the story. It's not where a narration where you're seeing Ganesha's story in front of you. They're actually part of the story. They change characters. They become characters in the story, and they help Ganesha to read whatever we hear as the regular end of the story. So the kids have been liking it so far. So
it's amazing. That's amazing. Very nice. So tell us, how do you weave Hindu values or tradition into your stories in a way kids today, if you can read
Sure. For me, it's very simple. It was my first book. So, I mean, it's a book for the child. It hopefully is the first book that they might read as a Hindu child. And what better thing for them to know than Om, which is why I thought, let's start at the beginning. I mean, the world started with Om, so why not my kids, you know? So, as you can see, there's, of course, in addition, there you go. In addition to, so we actually started beautifully with saying, what is Om? You know, the world itself, the sounds of the world, you know, whether it's a tree, whether it's a bird, it's actually saying Om, right? If you, so, if I can open it up. So baby is wondering, what is Om? How to chant Om? So we started to talk about that, and we certainly feel that the biggest Hindu value we have is that the entire universe is actually filled with Om. And so we talk about that. Birds say Om, trees say Om. Baby wonders, what is Om? So that was a very important part. And we also wanted to make sure that Om, the writing, is in many different languages. You know, the word itself might be one, but its script is not just one. And so that was an important thing for us to talk, that it doesn't matter what your language, you're still Hindu, and that's the Hindu value. And most importantly, that all Hindu things fill you with joy. You know, any tool that you have in the Hindu toolbox, it's about bringing joy and peace and happiness. So that is woven through all our themes here. And finally, the most important thing that we talk about is that it's really about binding hearts. Om is the force that binds your heart and mind. So that was very important. And really, it's about Om is in my family, Om is in my friends. Just come, connect with Om and feel a love that never ends. Hinduism is all about joy, love, peace. And so that's what we do. And for the parents, though, we do have a big description of what Om is. There's more details, you know, where did it come from, the Mandukya Upanishad and all that. You know, we have that detail at the back. But for the child itself, all we hope is that the child, first of all, loves the book. And I think the illustrations and everything.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The illustrations.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We will talk about Tejaswini, who did the illustration. I can talk about that later. But what I have found, many parents have come and told me that the kids love the book and also that they are able to say Om. I think if we can begin there, I feel always very touched. I found one where there was a Mexican nanny, that is the grandma was Mexican and the child is Indian, and she sent me this, and the Mexican nanny showed how the 4-month-old was saying Om. I was very touched.
How do you weave in the values to and traditions?
So my book is not like a children's book. It's a historical fiction, but it has illustrations. I can talk a little bit about why we chose illustrations. So this is actually based on the story of my co-author's grandmother. So when the partition hit in India, her grandmother and her grandfather was he was the treasurer and the head of the king of Kaplu, which is now in PAJK. So when they tried to escape, the king told him it's better to escape. When they tried to escape, they were caught. He was killed. Now this woman with 4 kids was put into the jail. She was caught. So she was there for a while. But what she did, she was such a smart woman, she hid gold in her, in different parts of her body because she knew that she'll be needing it. So after the Indian army came and she was taken away and, released from there. So from there, she thought that all my miseries are over now. Now I'm with my own people, but that's not what happened. When she came to Srinagar, she had to fight for her property. She kept pawning gold and repawning and getting it back and educating her children. So if you see Kashmir's history, many times we think of Kashmir as I said, hot news. But sometimes I have to remind people that when you're standing in that warrior pose of yoga, you have to remember yoga came from Kashmir.
Yes.
When you're learning the grammar of Sanskrit, remember who wrote it and where did that person come from, right? When you are actually learning classical music or you're doing, dance, Bharat, So Bharat Muni wrote Natya Shastra in Kashmir. So Kashmir has given amazing, there are algorithms that you use in high school here that have been written in somebody in Kashmir. So Kashmir has given a lot of other things to the world. Now you can, that is a past, present is a little different. So I always think that when our ancestors had to make hard choices, when it was easy to convert, they took hard choices. So what is it that led them through the journey? What is it that led my father, my mother during all of this happening in Kashmir? And they told our stories, but they never, it did not snatch the humanity from them. When they meet a person, they're only thinking thinking of them as a human. So what is it that is leading them? So that is what led me to the scriptures, and that is what led me to Bhagavad Gita, that it must be something in there, it must be their value system. इतना होने के बाद भी जब सामने कोई इंसान होता है तो आप उसको इंसान की नजर से देखते हैं.
Wow.
So that is what led me to Bhagavad Gita, and that is what I'm trying to weave in my stories. Illustration, because picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We also spoke a little bit more about, what actually inspired from your childhood. Yes. So you did touch upon that too, but yes.
So this book I aimed it for kids here. So it does weave in everything. I think it weaves the current. I try to make sure that the jargon kids this today can actually understand. There are puns here that they would get while being true to our Hindu values and giving the correct stories. I did a little bit of research because many of them don't know the stories. It's passed down, and just because it's on Google doesn't mean it's the correct one. So that's one thing I tried to. So I really tried to be true to our Hindu perspective, what is passed on. So I tried to weave it in while trying to reach the current generation of kids.
That's very important, right? So I was just going to ask, I'm sure that all your experiences as well, whether stories or experiences from your own childhood, I think you probably did this, momentarily for your grandchild, but anything that you probably had this in you at some point.
For sure. I mean, I think whatever I do today comes from my childhood. I'm very blessed that actually my grandfather, was the executive officer of the Sri Padmanabha Temple in Trivandrum, and 3 years of my life was spent playing in those sands over there. So what I heard there shaped me completely. And many of you know my own, I think you've met my father and my mother. They are very influential in my life. And so everything, let me put it this way, the passion to pass on Hindu values to my next generation comes from the passion that my grandfather and my father had to pass it on to me. My father worked very hard to whatever I am is because of my parents and my grandfather. And I think that is where the story came from. So now Om itself, it was just, I felt that that's where I should start. There was many places to start, and we said, where do you begin? And somehow this idea, my first Om, kind of on my first home, the Hindu home is the Om. So I felt that was important, and I thought, let's start there. And I'm a very accidental author, unlike all of these people. So where we will go with this, I don't know, but at least step one was Om. So.
One of my passions is to try to save Kashmiri language. Although a lot of other languages are going through that, probably Tamil and other Marathi language as well, that a lot of our kids are actually talking in English. But what has happened in Kashmiri language is that because of displacement, a lot of our culture is actually dying and it needs help. I mean, there are a lot of people here who are 1/4, 1/8 Kashmiri. Just support Kashmiri artists, support Kashmiri language because it needs you. So what I started doing even with my film career and my songs, I tried to include some Kashmiri lines somewhere. That was my way of trying to save, even if I can save one word and spread it to the world, and if my son can say one Kashmiri word, at least, I did something. So some examples of that is when Shankar Mahadevan ji sang our song called Es Savere. It was shot in Kashmir. So I told him that last time that world heard you singing Kashmiri was Bumro Bumro. So can you now sing again? Because, once you go to high visibility artists, it reaches many people. So, then he said that, hey, it's not going to be perfect. I said, that's great. Just let it go and let it, please sing it. And he did. So that is one part of my project. Why is that my passion project? Is because I realized that we were in Kashmir in 2014 during the floods, and we were being rescued, and one of the person who was an army person said, hey, get onto the truck. My son was 4-year-old, and I said, so I was looking at him and he looked at me. He said, who are you? Are you a tourist or you are a local? And I did not have that answer that day. So what makes me a local is not just my heritage, it's also my culture. So I'm just trying to do something there. Small.
That's very powerful.
As I said, I love books. So when I was young, I always used to love reading. Amar Chitrakatha, Enid Blyton. I know a lot of you might relate to those faraway trees. And I always imagined as a kid that what if somebody came to me and took me on an adventure? And so that I think was something that was in my mind when I started writing this book. And I've been teaching an act and Shloka class for over 15 years. And I usually teach the youngest kids, the kindergarten. Yes, they are the best age. But what I've been noticing over the years is what we see in media is really affecting how they perceive our culture. So, for instance, we talk about, I think last year or the year before, our theme was Ramayanam. And so we talked about Ramayanam, and all of them, they saw Adi Purush, right? That was the movie. And they're like, oh, Ravana has a Vahana of a bat. I'm like, no, that is not Ravana's Vahana. But they have no clue. And if I talk about, Lingam is another version of Shiva, they'll say, Bahubali, he carried the Lingam. So that is what they see, because that is what they're exposed to. So I felt it was really important to bring what is it that we actually mean. Lanka is supposed to be one of the most beautiful places. It's not a barren land that they portray in some of the movies, right? So that is what I wanted to bring. And also because I love my shlokams that my grandparents and my parents taught me, I feel like at the end of each book, this is what I did for the first book, there's a small shlokam on Ganesha that Ganesha teaches the kids, and they have the meaning. What is Mushika Vahana? Oh, I have the Vahana. So I've actually got quite a few people who reached out saying, thank you for including the shlokam, because my kid learned the shlokam from your book and they can use it on an everyday basis. And so that was because we all have shlokams that we say, little ones that just for that day that we can say. So I really found that was, and even in the morning, I know before I walked in here today, I said my shlokam in my head. Hope the event goes well. Yeah. I'm sure all of you do that when we have anything. Yeah.
Even my kids do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I feel that's a part of our Hindu culture. And sorry, I know it's a little over my time, but I just wanted to say this. We talk about mythology. Hinduism, it's not mythology. Myth means something that is fiction. We have temples to prove stories happened. We have places to prove that those things happened in those places. So I used to say mythology, but now I have moved to saying stuff from, all these stories are from Hindu Puranas, Hindu's Itihasas, because it's not a myth, it's still there.
So it's still there, exactly. Yeah. It's great. Thank you, Pavithra. What was the most challenging part of writing your book? Was there any?
Oh my God. I was going to say, how many minutes will we have? So,
you know what? It was that long, maybe just a minute.
No, actually, like I said, I am not a talented author like her or her. This just accidentally fell into my thing because I was driven by the passion to do this. So when I started, I was like, how am I going to do this, right? And of course, I always reach out to Devi when I need it. And I reached out to two Devis, Parveen Minocha and Meena Mehta, because, yes, please give them a warm round of applause. They're amazing individuals, my dear, dear friends. And so, I could write words, but I was not very good about, design and me. We are not together at all. Meena Mehta is a designer and Parveen is, I don't know, she's everything, she's a one and all. So it was a fabulous collaboration that we could do. So, but still, when we put things together, our first version, I brought it to my customer, which is my kids. They were like, no, this doesn't work. So we had to go back to the drawing board and I really had to. So they said, the book should rhyme. It should be poetic because you are talking to a little child, it cannot be text like that. So, om, 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 so long ago, my daughter was keeping a rhythm and a beat. So that was an interesting thing. So we really went back to the drawing board many times. So that was number one. And then the number two thing was, how do you get a book going? How do you have illustrations? So that was not an easy thing. But fortunately, again, my kids had friends who had written books for children. So they put me in touch with the South Asian literary group. And actually, I would recommend all of you to go to that. And so we joined that WhatsApp group. We found some illustrator and Shwini, who is so amazing, who did the illustrations for this book. So, and of course, to guide her, we have the great people here, Meena, and she herself is a great designer. So she and Parveen could guide the whole thing together. And also the last thing is, how do you publish the book? So again, fortunately for me, I didn't even know this when I started this with Parveen. She had already wanted to publish her own children's book, and she had actually worked with Amazon and figured all that out, for me. So, God always makes arrangements for me. So it was fabulous, and so it worked out. So, but I would say 3 challenges. First of all, the content that you think you're writing may not be the exact content that, that the actual customer is looking for. Finding illustrations, it was not an easy thing. She is amazing for, there are many illustrators, but to find the right one, that she's from India, so she understood the context a little bit, so that was good. And of course, publishing. So those are all 3 challenges, and here we are now. Final challenge is, of course, how do you spread the word? So that has been really good. I mean, thanks to the Hindu Grandma, I think we got the word out a little bit, but we have a long way to go.
For me, the challenge was that when we started this book, it was initially going to be a chapter book. But a couple of years back, we had this meeting, and Rajeshwari messaged me that the high school in Lexington has this course on Kashmir and all the 40 articles, where there was not a place for even we were not even in the footnotes. So when we went and met the HOD of history, and she said, "Fine, we'll remove the references, let the kids explore on their own. But where are the books? All the books that we had were probably high school level." So that is when we decided we will make illustrations, because then it goes to the kids who are younger, and older people can read it as well. It was nice, cute idea. But once we went and started, we thought, we can do Gemini, and AI is there, Chat GPT is there, everything is there. Why do we need anybody, right? I'll tell you why you need someone. When you go and Google on Gemini and say, make a Kashmiri queen, you will get Sharmila Tagore of Kashmir Ki Kali. Then if you say, change the prompt and say, make her Hindu, they'll just apply a bindi to her. So it was not working out. So then we said, okay, let's go to an illustrator. So we talked to a few illustrators and asked them to give us samples. It was not what we were looking for. Then we found an illustrator in India who's willing to work with us, and she did the same thing, because there was nothing available online. There were little animes, but not what we were looking for, illustrations. So she did the same thing. If you just embroidered somebody something like this, that makes you Kashmiri, that's not true. So then we had to help her, guide her, and these illustrations were created. That was the main problem we had, making them understand what a Kashmiri Hindu woman or a queen would look like. So this earring that I'm wearing, that we had to make her understand that this is basically when you get married and you become Shiv and Parvati in Kashmiri tradition. The Parvati wears this, which is basically it's a representation of creation, Shiv and Shakti, Kamilan we call it. And many times, which is very unique to Kashmiri culture, is that if somebody's husband dies, you continue to wear it. Because once you're thrown as a goddess, nobody can ungoddess you. And I thought that needed to be shown. So that was a challenging part, making them understand and getting the illustration together. I definitely feel one of the challenges is to make sure that this book gets into the libraries, and especially to the early education, because your kids are going to listen to your teachers a little more than what you're going to tell. A book helps. So it's a tool of education and a tool of reclaiming your history.
So how was it welcomed in the school?
We have done it in Denmark, because that's where the co-author is. So we've done it in Denmark. I have written to a few schools here. So also Shishu Bharati, I've sent it to them as well, to use this as a tool of education. And this is the message is of humanity, messages of love, messages of harmony. The message is to be together. So it will definitely be, it should go to schools. So if anybody has great ideas of how to get this to schools, I would need your help. Please help me out. Let me know what needs to be done to get to the schools.
So one thing is writing, and there's multifold to that.
Yes.
So when I finished publishing the book, I had one of the persons who actually asked me to write, Prasad Kaipaji. He's the president of the Indic Wisdom. He said, you need to read a book. I said, I just wrote a book. You want me to read a book? And he's like, it's called Ape. I'm like, okay. He said, author, publisher, entrepreneur. Your job does not stop at just writing. You have to figure out the publishing, and you have to be a business person to get your message across. So it's a never-ending challenge. I think I did not realize what I was taking up by actually writing a book. I thought it would be easy. Hey, it's writing a book. Yeah, it was not hard. It was hard. 20,000 words over many years is not easy. Trying to figure out if it's too complicated for kids. So I think some of the challenges. First was when I initially started writing, I read young adult and adult fiction. I love fiction. I started writing and I look back and I realized I was writing for an adult. A child does not need to know how the wind swept over somebody's hair or whether they're turning their child doesn't need all that. Their imagination is so strong. We just need the basics. So that was one. Second, I actually had to imagine making the kids become part of the story. So I had to really dig deep into my creativity, because initially I had the narration is how all our stories are. Ganesha does this happens, that's the narration. And the person who gave me the worst feedback is my daughter, who's sitting here, who told me, it's really awful, Amma. There's really no conflict. There is no movement. You need to have movement in the story. So that was the other.
The drama in that.
Yes, you need the drama. You need something. So if the book wouldn't have been here if she hadn't given that comment to me. Finding a publisher, illustrator, all of the things that you said. So I am in higher education. I am not big fan of AI because my whole world is about the AI detection tools that I use to make sure my students are not using AI. So it's like every paper that I get, I have to put it through 3 detection tools, and still I'm not sure whether they're using AI or they're not using AI. So I went with she was actually not an illustrator. She's an artist, somebody I knew. And it was wonderful because she was in India. So it was a little harder because she had to read my book. And then she had to bring what I had written into the actual picture. And then we'll go back saying, I did not imagine it like this. So, and I have about, I think, 30 illustrations. It took us 1 year for the 30 illustrations because every illustration had to go back and forth. Yes, the publisher. I got a publisher in India. It's good, but they can't publicize here. It's like, it's a huge, so definitely having some kind of a support system for authors here to get the message across is good. I'm glad my publisher is on the better side because I've heard horrible things about all publishers. So I think I've been a little lucky about that, but getting it on Amazon, they did it. I have to push them. We got it on Barnes and Nobles. I have been calling local bookstores because I'm a faculty in my college. I was able to get it into my library system. I had to wait for 3 months to get it into my local library. It takes time. And so one of the things we would ask help for is if you can help us get these books into your library, your town library, it would be awesome. Once it's in the system, it's in the system because then people can access it. So that's a really school libraries, town libraries, send us reviews on Amazon. Those are the things that really help us publicize
there are people
them.
from PTO members here.
Please, it would really help us.
One way to go about. I'm sure with all that, you might have had some kind of a self-doubt. How did you push it through?
Oh, it was mostly my children saying, first birthday is coming up. You said you would do something. And, both my children are entrepreneurs. They were like, just shut up. Okay. You just do it. Okay. So, and we had a party coming up. So this was the return gift. So it was honestly,
That's
the pushing.
pressure thing.
This is the Parveen and Meenaji will remember this, and we really tried hard. And so we said, but it was good to have a deadline, because without that, we could be making 1,000 revisions to the book, right? So, but we just targeted it, and I remember when the book came out. Actually, there was one little, I think, a U instead of an O was put. So for that return gift, I made everything into an O. I remember. And I will just say one other thing. The very big difficulty I think that came out for everybody to take a concept like Om and make a book for a 1-year-old is not trivial. So I just want to mention that. And I think that's what was coming out from everybody here.
For me, I was actually writing this book. I was also writing another one, and I was also editing my father's book. So my father passed away a couple of years back, and I promised myself that I'll first get his book out and then I'll get any of my work out. It was a nice promise, but I had difficulty. I abandoned that project many times because of, I had to do fact checking. Then I abandoned all the projects. Then this faced problems because of illustrations. Then we had some other issues with which all of us face, because as writers, I don't know about others, I get excited about projects. I start them and then I just don't know what happens. And then I just leave and I go to another project. So then I had to, I have a husband who is actually my project manager, unofficial. So he said, okay, November is your deadline. Just finish. Your father won't be angry if you do this book before that. But somehow, both the books came out together at the same time. So a lot of my time gets wasted into self-doubt. And I think now I have kind of made my peace with it, that there will be a time where it will be like that. And I have to just put myself in the flow state. Take it easy. Don't be hard on yourself. Just be in the flow state. And maybe just see some funny stuff that takes you away from, because I do this full time. So I don't have any other break. I'm always working on either a film script or a short film or a literature project. So it is a burnout there. So I think that was my issue. The deadline was set by somebody else. I also put deadlines on myself. I just don't follow them. So I need someone else to do it for me.
That takes a burden off you.
I didn't think I would write a children's book. So maybe when my kids were younger, I thought of a picture book, but never a chapter book. And I don't write. I teach. So it was a really difficult thing. I was excited. It was a long process. I started it. I got you. I stopped it. I took a break. I needed that inspiration to just come to me, which never did. Okay. And at times when nothing will happen for months on end because it just didn't happen. And there was no deadline. I had no publisher at that point. So it was my own timeline, which is not a timeline. So it was very scattered for the longest period of time. It was when I think I really started looking at publishers. That's when the self-doubt. Am I really good enough? Is this good enough? One thing I would say to people who want to write, share it with people you really value. They'll give you comments, but at least it validates the fact that you're writing, and they'll give you some. So I feel that helped. A lot of my friends gave me comments, and after I published too, the self-doubt, it's still there. But when kids come to me and say, Auntie, I really loved your book, or parents tell me this was great, and I've had kids asking, when's the next book? Which god is the next book about? Those are the times which I have to hold on to, because every time I start writing, I'm like, am I good enough? I think that is always there.
You had a best critique as well, I guess.
Yes.
So, it worked out.
Yes.
Yeah. To the parents here, right? How can we encourage our children to read more, especially culturally rooted books? What are your thoughts? Anyone want to share? So it will actually help them with their next book.
We'll start with Vinita ji and then...
Thank you. All so inspiring. I think by reading books to them. And one thing I did with my children and also now with my grandchildren, I read the book in Hindi.
Oh.
And I didn't care whether it was, because, even if sometimes the book is in English, I wanted to teach my children, and Shikhar was, my husband here, was very clear that we have to speak only Hindi at home. So this was my children, we had more control. So even if it was Red Riding Hood over there, it was like, ye ek choti ladki hai, ye lal coat pehni hai.
Good idea.
So till 2 and 2.5, at least my daughter did not hear English, at all. I mean, except outside. And then when she started going to daycare, that was different. So same thing I'm doing with my grandchildren now. I read the books to them in Hindi. And of course, shlokas and morning prayer and this and that. So at least whatever time I'm, doing, I'm trying to inculcate the language and the culture and the puja. I think it's really important. I mean, I think we're sitting in a temple, and a lot of us in this community, we've come here, we become philosophers. But I think we both really feel like unless you practice, that is really important. And the practice only comes by doing the puja. So I think that's also very important, that the kids know what is the ghanti and, how do you do, and right hand. I mean, you have done a very good explanation of that, because, the first time there was somebody who was visiting my house and I gave them prasad. It was coming down after my puja and I gave prasad and she gave it left hand. And I'm like, oh my God. So, there are these little things that you can tell the chutus, and, they'll just grow up with it. So I think, thank you very much for your books. Congratulations, all of you.
Thank you. And there, she had a comment.
Thank you for the books and like explaining the process to us. It was difficult, like we are Marathi, and it was difficult to get our daughter for first 3-4 years. She wouldn't speak anything of that. And then I just started speaking in Marathi. We used to talk to each other. And then she used to ask, tell me. I used to tell her, go figure it out. And because she wanted to know what we are talking, she was always interested more in what we are doing. She started learning. Sometimes, grandmother used to teach her shlokas, and then I used to say, okay, can we say it together? And I used to tell her, oh, I forgot. So I remember, like, that is something that gave her immense pleasure. She is correcting her parent. And I remember once saying Shantakaram and suddenly stopping, and she, oh mom, you don't know, it's Yogi Bhirdhyanagamyam. And that started giving her pleasure. Now, then both of us started learning Gita, and then she one day told, I also want to do this.
So I know you probably have already given mom some suggestions. What, going back in years, right? I'm addressing right there to you kiddos right there. What would you have enjoyed most? Would it be adventure, mythology, humor, or anything else? In a book, yeah.
What kind of Hindu books can we write for you?
I personally really like the stories. I used to read a lot of Amrchitra Katha as a kid, and then I read Amma's book too. And I really, I always enjoyed the stories, even in Shloka class. That was my favorite part of Shloka class, listening to all the stories. So, Amma creating a book where she's bringing those stories in, a chapter book fashion to, little kids. And it's sort of like Magic Tree House, which I also read at that young age, and I really enjoyed that. So, bringing the adventure with the mythology, or not mythology, the Hindu stories. The Hindu stories, I think just, it's so engaging for kids. And I feel like if I was there, the kids' age, and I had been reading that, I would have enjoyed it very much.
Wow. Good job.
Yeah. We'll take one more before we move on. Yeah. Anyone? Yeah. Way back there.
What I wanted to say is, not necessarily from my children's perspective, but I am part of the Acne Shloka class. I teach along with Pavithra. What I've noticed with our students, and especially during COVID, is we did a lot of those quizzes and using, because we were not able to have in-person classes, it was on Zoom, so we would do Kahoot, quizzes, and they loved it. They would wait for it, because that was, today everybody is using apps and everybody is on a laptop. That even before they know to say Om, they are already clicking on the laptop, right? So they know what to do. So I think it would be really nice if we can come up with games and toys for children that incorporate a lot of, we have phonics, we have whatever. So why not have, simple stories, simple things that can be, that can come up as toys for our children to be using at that age. I think that
Something that I've struggled with all my life for the children is that, our gods are bordering on Vivatsas. Ganesha with elephant head, father killing Ganesha, and stuff like that, and on and on and on. So that used to be a big thing about the kids here. How come this person has an elephant head, or why should the father kill the son, and so on and so forth. So how have you dealt with it? Maybe you explained it in the book, I don't know, but thank you.
I can take this one. No, you can keep that. So in my book specifically, that was a big I had to really work on that, because how am I going to portray it? Because we've all heard those stories. I don't think I've ever questioned those stories.
We never questioned.
We never questioned. All the kids nowadays question them. They said, why? Why should that happen? Why shouldn't they do this? So one of the things that I did was, in the book too, multiple times I've said, there's one where we have Gajamukhasura. Gajamukhasura is a demon who prayed to Brahma and he got a boon. So then the kids ask Ganesha, how come they prayed to him and he gave? He's a bad guy. So then in one of the conversations, I say, I've brought Ganesha saying, everybody is good. If you pray, God blesses you. It's how you use what you have. So it's a behavior. It's not your prayer that is the problem. It's how you choose to change that behavior. And thank you. And the other thing is, even with the gods, I think in the end, I have the Ganesha beheaded story, how he got his head. So I have this portrayal of Shiva getting angry. And one of the kids who was in the story coming to Shiva, and I think I went deep into the fact that we all have a personal relationship with God. I get mad at my God. I get happy with my God. I'm thankful to my God. How many times have I been angry that, or you, why didn't that happen? I've done everything, but it doesn't happen, right? So I wanted to bring that out in the book. So the kid, one of the kids says, how could you do that? No, you're angry. And this is, you can't. I try to be as polished as I can because it's a kid's book. But then she asks Shiva saying, how can you do that? And then Shiva says, yeah, I shouldn't have done it. And I think that is that human aspect of our gods that we can connect to. They all realize, no, we shouldn't have done it. And we all get mad. All of us get mad. All of us get upset. But how can we rectify it? I think that is what I have tried my best. I don't know if I've succeeded. You can always give me feedback on how I can get better at it.
I wanted to add, that was amazing. As a parent, sometimes you can just tell your child, I don't have all the answers. I'll get back to you. Let's read it together. Let's explore it. It's okay. You don't know everything. That's a good question though. So that's one thing I always did with my son. I have an reverse problem. So other day, because I'm working on a documentary, so I asked my son, we had gone to this A2 restaurant. So I was about to take dosa in my mouth, and I asked my son, hey, when you think of peace, what is the first picture that comes to your mind? And what am I expecting? Dalai Lama or somebody like that? He said, Vishnu. And I almost stopped and looked at him. I said, no, I'm talking about people, pictures, like what? I was so confused. Why is he saying Vishnu? I'm expecting Dalai Lama. What's wrong? What's happening? So sometimes kids may know more. So then he gave me a lecture of 10 minutes. What peace is not about looking cute. It's also about setting the world order. I got a history and lessons from World War II, and I had a good meal. But I learned from my son too. That's one thing. Second thing about language. So my son learned Hindi writing in the beginning because my husband is Marathi, so we speak Marathi, we speak Kashmiri, we speak also English, and we speak also Hindi. So it's a mix of a lot of languages. So other day, like maybe last week, my son wanted a day off. So he said, no, I don't have much in the school. Please help me. I want a day off. I said, okay, write the request in Hindi to us.
Wow.
So it was fun. Take your time. You can't look at phone, make mistakes. But so it took him 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes to write it. It had mistakes, but we accepted it. That's second thing. Third thing is that my son is in high school, so he is going to be influenced by the influencers. So there are so many American, white, black, all races. They are actually all making content in Hindi, Indian languages, Telugu, Tamil, everything. So just show them those people. And say, this is your culture. This is for yours to take. This is for yours to understand. And so that also plays a part. Hindu grandma.
I know.
I know she has white hair, but she's pretty cool on Instagram. She's the most influenced person. She opened her account, and next month I'm seeing she's 100K. I said, Ranjani ji, how did you do it? So she has perfected the art of creating the right content with the right hook and knowing how much to, how to create the right content. So who's to say we cannot learn from her? Who's to say we cannot learn from a child, including the child?
No, I think we'll go on. I think there were good feedbacks here.
Yeah. Can you share a favorite line or moment from your book?
Oh, that's a good one. I think maybe, you know what, Parveen, can you come up? And because they are, and Meenaji, maybe we'll have each of you read one from me. So that'll be, because they are my co-authors, and that's, that gives you.
That gives us time. Sorry.
Yeah, very quickly. And I was going to say about Bibhatsya, right? I think this is where Amar Chitrakatha, I remember my son, my mother was telling him the story of Parashurama, who she said, his father was upset with the mother because she cheated on him, right? And then he told her to cut his head off. And he said, oh my God, couldn't they just have got a divorce instead of cutting the head? And then my mother said, this is India, we don't divorce. He said, How about a separation party? True story.
So what a pleasure it has been to work with both Ranjini ji and Meena ji. So one of my favorite lines here in the book. Put your hand on your heart. Feel Om pulse in every part.
I like this one. I think it says, feel the bliss when you chant Om in the world and right at home. And the image with this is beautiful. Let me just turn it around. She has her eyes closed and, the Om is kind of in the universe around her.
Thank you so much. I was very blessed. My journey was so easy because of these two amazing babies that I have with me.
It's really hard when you have 20,000 words to pick out a line. But I
make it challenging.
Yes, I know. But this is one that I thought was important, which is why I included it in the end. In the end, Ganesha gives the kids a murti of himself to hold on to in the book. And these are kids who don't have a lot of exposure to Hinduism. Their parents are Hindus, but we all have a lot of our friends. So not every family is fully into Hinduism, and that's okay. So this is one of those places where I wanted to bring what a murti is. So they said, and one of my colleagues, an English colleague of mine, who said, I really learned a lot because the kids didn't know what it meant. So I'll just read two passages. It's like a conversation. Neil turned to Ganesha and said, I know my grandparents have statues or murtis like this. What's their purpose? A murti is a special way to represent me or any god. This means that whenever you need me, just focus on my murti and pray sincerely. It will feel like I'm right there with you, just like I am now, Ganesha said with a kind smile.
I'm going to do something different. Book is just 25 pages. You guys can buy it and pick the passage that you like.
Whoa, I love
So,
marketing. I love buy the book.
Buy the book. But how about this? All of you, I'll teach you a Kashmiri word. Ready? So you can say to any Kashmiri, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikhs. There are these ethnicities in Kashmir. So if you see a Kashmiri and you say, how are you? Right? What do we say in Tamil?
Same
So Hindi में कैसे हैं आप और उर्दू में भी probably, and in Kashmiri we say with a question mark वारे छुर वारे पहले वारे no youngsters वारे WARAI वारे छुर yeah वारे छुर with a question mark. They will, or somebody say वारे. So whosoever is from Kashmir, any religion or a sect, just say Vare Chuva. It will. So now you learned a Kashmiri word.
And now reply saying
Vare. So Vare Chuva. Vare Chuva. Vare Chuva. Vare.
Beautiful.
So that is. So now you are all part Kashmiris.
All right. So in closing, we'll take another few minutes. What's next? Are you working on another book?
Yeah, there are some requests that have come, and we will see where we go. I have to say that my co-authors are way ahead of me, and Parveen is actually, I think we should feature her next. She and Meena, both of them have tremendous books, which I'll let her talk about it. I think that's on the Bhagavad Gita, and she has some beautiful things on values and peace and all of that. But me on my own, again, I think definitely demystifying Hinduism and how to bring that, there have been there's some Hindu Yuva groups who have reached out to have some books on that. So we will see where we go. But right now, it's all about the videos. So because that's what, to write this book took me a year, right? And the videos take much less time. So that's why my kids asked me to do that. So videos are going to continue. And for all of you, I'm trying.
The one that you did for Akshaya Tritiya.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, AI is coming in handy, Google Gemini for videos, that's a really beautiful thing. But yeah, so I always leave it to great God. I never know what I'm going to do tomorrow, so we'll find out. So it's as much a mystery to me, but I'm hoping we will try to do things.
As I told you earlier, I'm always in multiple projects at the same time. I am finishing my 4th book as a poet. I'm also doing a book on short stories, and then trying to find parallels between Wordsworth, Shakespeare, Lalishwari from Kashmir, 13th century, and then Kabir. I'm trying to create those parallels and trying to find even Rumi. So it's amazing how these people were in the same 100 years and they actually had similar things to say. So I'm trying to create that and also helping doing some other film work which I can't talk about. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Looking forward to the film work. I started working on my next book. Wow. So thank you. I have a couple of ideas I've just started. So those of you, again, please do buy my book. So if you buy your book today, you get a bookmark where you will get a QR code on the back that links you to my website where you can vote on the next god that you would like in my book. So I have a couple of options going. So depending on what kids want, that is where I will go. It has to be something kid friendly, obviously. And we have a lot of gods. So I have a lot of options, which is good and bad. So,
So where can families go and get the books?
is it okay?
That's okay. Go ahead.
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I'm working with trying to get them into a few local bookstores. I think Brooklyn Booksmith will be carrying it. Lala Books in Lowell carries it. Silver Unicorn in Acton will be carrying it soon. So.
Wow.
Mine is on Amazon. I also wanted to mention that my film is on Amazon called Songs of Paradise. Please see it.
Wonderful. Our book is also on Amazon, but in India, Flipkart, right, Parveenji? And Amazon. Poti.com, sorry. Poti.com and Flipkart and Amazon in India. So, and of course, I just wanted to mention that today, if any of you buy any of our books, part of the proceeds, is going to go to the temple. In my case, I'm going to go all of the proceeds to the temple. So I think by the way, these are great books. I always think for me, great baby shower gifts, great, grandparent gifts. So I have found myself easy now when I go to give people, I don't have to find out what is the new great toy. I just give the book.
I just wanted to add, my book is on Amazon India and Garuda. Garuda is the publisher. So it's on Garuda as well. So I have to publicize them.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for being such a wonderful and
thank you so much.
A heartfelt thank you to HPN and also Sri Lakshmi Temple for having us do this morning. And thank you all for being here. I think they have some books displayed outside. You can get them here, or they also have the QR code. So please support.
Thanks to Rajesh for being here.
I was going to say on our behalf, so I think, by the way, there were quite a few apes here, right? I love it. Author, publisher, entrepreneur. Wonderful, wonderful. I would like to really thank Rajeshwari, the Hindu Parents Network, because it's the first of a kind event. I mean, we as authors really struggle on to how to promote our event. So thank you. By the way, these HPN people came all the way from Canada. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Their work is really incredible. And there's one very, very important person I would like to thank, and that is Lata Narayanan, who has been such a panel is not easy to run. And Lata, I think on all of our behalf, I would say she's been magic. So magic moderator, M&M, that's Lata for us. So thank you so much. And she's an amazing, dedicated volunteer for this temple. I think, the gods, if you want anything from the god, just talk to Lata. She'll talk to them and they'll get it for you, So please, Mangalam Shubham, and thanks to the temple for promoting this. And I'd like to thank the two trustees who are here, Giri and Anil, who are here. And actually, great thanks to Ganesh Krishnan, who is the president of the temple, who was very supportive as well, and all of the other things. So please come to the temple and buy the book, because we'll give the money to the temple. And of course, bring Hinduism into the lives of all the children that some you may know, some you may not know as well. So
Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to the authors. Because you wrote these amazing books, we could have this event. And please, we want more authors, more books that we can showcase and give our kids to read.